In this video, we're going to give you a quick overview of installing a capital vending LED kit in a Dixie Narco BevMax. This particular one is a BevMax 4. In early production, they used either 2 or 3 fluorescent light bulbs. This is the wide model machine, so there's a fluorescent light bulb on the top. It has 2 on the side. If you have the narrow machine, when it came from the factory, there were only 2 bulbs on the side. So this one video is kind of going to go over installation of both. Your machine may look slightly different, and again, the kit is available with 2 LED strips or 3, depending on how you want to update it. I guess the first step, I'm going to go ahead and open up my access door, and I'm going to turn the power off. With the power off, first thing, there's going to be multiple plugs here. The one that you want to look for is a 3 position, so there's a center position open. This is 120 volts AC. I'm going to use this single plug to power either 2 of the 3 LED strips. The way to separate it, you just push this tab in and the wires will separate. So this is the side that I'm going to use. With the kit, it'll come with a power harness. So this piece right here is going to plug in. So that's going to supply power to my 2 or 3 strips. The next step, I'm going to go up here, and it might be a bit difficult to see. I'll zoom in on it, but this particular machine has 3 LED strips, so I'm going to pull out both plugs, so to speak. These harnesses right here come up from the ballast. So this forward plug right here, I'm pulling out this putty, very important not to throw this away. And I'm reaching back, and because on this installation I'm doing an LED strip in the middle, so you may or may not be doing this center LED strip. If you're not doing the upper LED strip in the center, you do not really need to remove this putty from the back. So now I'm going to open this door. The rear that's exposed for the 3 LED strip kit, I'm going to remove this putty as well. And basically what I'm just trying to do is get access to this hole. For this installation, I'm going to go ahead and I'll remove this this bulb, and should have this, definitely needs to have this plastic piece should be on it, and that'll come out. So what I'm doing now, just to be aware that I have a splitter. So what I always like to do to make sure I install everything in the proper order, I'm going to connect this splitter. It kind of avoids a mistake of the way that these parts need to be connected. So now I'm ready to install the first LED strip. I kind of have my splitter here connected because putting this on at this step avoids mistakes. The back of the strips provided have a very good, strong double-backed adhesive tape. So now that this is exposed, try not to put my fingers on it. So what I always like to do is I can either put this on the old fixture, or I'll put it in front. In some of my customers will remove these old fixtures, some of them will leave them. For the video, I'm leaving those fixtures in here. It's technically cleaner, and I would recommend removing them. So I'm just taking this strip. I'm actually going to put this just a bit in front of the existing fixture. Again, if you're removing the fixture, you could just center it between the screws. So here I've installed my strip. You're not going to really be able to see it in the movie. This piece right here, in a later step of the video, I'm going to use a timeout to secure this. But in the video, I kind of like to do things step by step so you can see how they're working. Now this is my 2-to-1 splitter. So I'm going to go and feed this back into the cabinet. So I have both pieces here. This male-female connector will be here, and it kind of will actually be held in place with the putty. So it just kind of the putty is very firm. So to finish this part of the installation, I'm going to put this putty back in place. Then I'm going to come back over here. So now I'm taking this putty and I'm replacing it. So I have my splitter here. In the event that you do decide to remove the fixtures and the ballast, which does make sense, there'll be there won't be this clutter in here. So I have customers do it each way. So here I have both sides of my connector. So the next step, what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually grab the power supply and connect it just to make sure that this LED is working. So here's our typical power supply, the same power supply is used with all the capital vending kits. So here is my original 120 volt power, and this is a 12 volt power supply, so I'm connecting this. Then this power is going to go into the, on the 2-to-1, it's only going to fit in one side. It'll fit in the female side, so you'll have an open male side. So at this point, it's very sloppy in here, but I'm just going to turn the machine on quickly to make sure the light comes on. Okay, so the LED strip comes on. It takes them a bit longer than the fluorescent lights typically, but now that I have light, I know that it's connected correctly. So I'm going to turn it off and go to my next step. Alright, so now I'm going to talk about installing the LED strips on the side of this machine. If you just have the 4-wide baby BevMax, this essentially is where you would be starting the installation. One thing that's just nice to have is, like, I like to have a magnet. Just it helps me keep my screws in order. Also too, like, a Sharpie is real handy, and I would advise just putting a little black mark on this inside door. This part looks symmetrical, but it's not. There is a top and a bottom. I mean, just to be, you know, if you want to mark this as well, just when you're doing the reinstall, that way you'll know you're putting those two pieces together correctly. So what I'm going to do now is, typically there's 2 screws here and a small little push-in piece of plastic. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the screws. And so I have a Phillips screwdriver for the screws. One nice, just a straight brick blade screwdriver, like a tinier one would make it a bit easier. I'm kind of going to get under this little plastic push piece. I'll remove this. And so now this, sometimes these are fun to take out because if they're old, or before you start this, if you have really old yellowed ones, it would be a good idea to buy replacements, or just because you don't want to crack them. I mean, this machine was not too old and they're in decent shape, so I can kind of flex these out. It should be reasonably flexible, but again, if yours, before you start this job, if yours are all yellow, if they're kind of cracked and aren't going to go back together, I would just advise buying them new replacements. They're very inexpensive. So at this point now, I'm exposed to this top bulb here. So now I twist this bulb, will twist about 90 degrees. It's typical of removing a bulb. I can kind of feel when the pins click into the correct place. So now I have my bulb out, and I'm definitely going to place this out of my workway so I don't step on it. This area is exposed. So I kind of have my LED strip, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to feed through on my adapter here. Has the male plug, so I'm going to put the female piece through this hole. And I'm connecting them. So there's plenty of room. The existing fluorescent, or the existing fixture here for the fluorescent light bulb, it kind of cuts at a 90-degree angle. So you have your option. You can put the LED shining across, or put the LED sitting on that kind of flat, pushing the light inwards. I typically put it on. It'll be on a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to go ahead and peel this tape back. I'm just going to place this on the 45-degree angle. Kind of place it right in this. Alright, so at this point, now I've installed the top piece, and I always like to check after I do each piece, so I'm going to turn the machine back on. So here, you know, I'm halfway there, got my top piece on this machine. This is really bright. So now I'm going to turn the machine back off because I know that's working. So just my next step, like while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to restore it, put this putty back in place. I'm just going to do it from this side. Just from where I'm sitting, I can see. And this is, putty is actually a very important step. You know, once you have it in place, it's not going to move, but it's just very important so air doesn't mix between the cabinets, so don't skip the step of putting that putty back in place. So now I have this piece installed. And this is not hard to do, but just typically the one, what the most time-consuming part is, I'm going to remove this little delivery port right here. And a delivery port is held in place with 2 screws. So same Phillips screwdriver. Remove my screw, put it up on the magnet, kind of keep them in order so you know where to replace them. So with this piece, this plastic here, you don't have to remove any more parts. Basically, so what I'm going to do, this front piece will separate from this piece. There's a door that's held in place, so it's very typical this door is going to fall on the floor, kind of unless I catch it. So don't be alarmed if this inside door here falls on the floor. That's just kind of going to be typical. So what I'm doing now, just with my straight screwdriver, like I just push back on these tabs. So this is kind of separating this front section right here from the rear part. So now I have the top 2, or the back 2 are removed, and then so from here I can see there's 2 more and they're visible. So I'm just doing is trying to just separate this. So what I'm doing, I kind of pull this, like the plastic tabs are indenting this way. So if you get between the plastic here, so I just separated it. So here I'm gonna, so this is the front piece that I marked with the Sharpie. In this case, the door kind of fell back in place. And then I need to remove this inside door here. All these parts were kind of made to snap in place. The way I do it, I just lift this up slightly. And on the inside, you'll just see 2 tabs. And I kind of just want to pull this in towards the cabinet. But do not pry it hard. Like when you pull it, it was very well made so that the tabs are right at the edges of the metal. So at this point, now this piece will come towards the inside of the cabinet. Basically, the reason this needed to be removed was so I could route wires down to the LED that'll be down here. At this point, I'm going to undo 2 screws for this lower panel. So I'm doing these 2 screws. Now, the reason I did that, there's a 3rd screw down here it's difficult to get to, and it avoids having to remove 6 screens from this bottom part here. So basically what I'm going to do is just slide this piece, and I kind of want to pop it out of place. And my goal is to be able to just open it this way, because really all I really need to do is be able to gently bend this forward. And I'm going to now remove this light bulb. So I'm twisting it until I feel that the notches align correctly. So now I've removed this light bulb, so I'm going to go move this out of my work area so I don't step on it. Okay, so at this point, like I have this wire right here is exposed. The one thing, if you've made the decision that you're going to just not ever go back to fluorescent lights and the machine's turned off, you could cut this wire and remove it. It'll give you more room in here. For me, I have no problem just leaving it in place, so you're welcome to do either one. So I'm going to connect this little extension this direction. And so what I like to do is, like, there's plenty, we give you plenty of extra wire here, so I'm going to kind of put this up here, and I'm just channeling this smaller flexible wire here, where this black wire was, and the memory of this black wire is kind of going to put it back into place. And then I'm just pushing this firmly. So this kind of works out really good. Basically, I just need just to get power down to this bottom panel. So at this point, really easy, I'm done. I have my connector here for the second or third and final LED strip. By default, you have one connector here, so this will be a male connector, will connect to the female. And just before I start closing and sealing everything back up, I always like just to test, one at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off this tape here. I can just kind of pull this gently towards me. I'll hold this in place. Then this one too, I just kind of like to, I'll get this in place This one here I'm also putting in at the 45-degree angle. I like to leave the fluorescent light fixtures in place. Here I have extra wire, so I'm actually going to use a cable mount here, and I'll show you. And I want to secure this up high so it doesn't get in the way of the light. So with the kit we give you these little tie mounts, and so I'm just going to peel the adhesive back here and place it here. And basically I just want to secure some of the wires, under the clip on here, just so they don't fall down. So I have it a lot of times, like I like to use just the the pieces in the machine here to kind of hold things in place. So at this point I've got my wire out of the way. I've got the wire secured. With this top wire here, kind of like going to fold this up in place. Also going to use just a tie strap just to kind of keep it out of the way so it just doesn't block any of the light. It makes the job look nice. So that will keep it out of the way. So now that I've done this third strip, I'm going to go ahead and give it power just to make sure. So at this point now I have light coming through, so everything is working perfectly. So I'm ready to start putting it all back together. So I'm going to turn the power off. So now I'm going to go ahead and click this piece of plastic back in place. Kind of went in place nicely. I'm going to take one of the Phillips screws and just secure the top. Like I'm not, just in case I need to undo it, I'm just going to kind of put it in a bit just so the plastic stays in place and doesn't get in my way. Okay, so this is the inner door part. So I'm basically going to put this through the slot, push it upwards, and then it will come down. So the bottom of the metal is going to rest behind these tabs. So it kind of goes in. It'll come upwards. I'm going to just nudge it up just a bit. And then so that's all that it required. Like, this is not a completely tight fit right here, but once you push it in, you push it up. It just requires a little bit of feel, but you'll kind of feel this click back into place. So now that's done. So my next step, I'm going to put this door back in place. And just so you know, like when you're doing it, this is going to go towards the inside of the machine. The rib part right here is towards the soda. This part is towards like the electronic part of the machine. One little trick I like to do, sometimes I put a little piece of masking tape here, just kind of holds it in place a little bit better. Makes things go a little quicker. So this, and you have to remember to remove this tape when you're done. So I'm just going to put this tape there, just kind of prevents it from falling down. So here I'm ready to put my door in place, and what I always do is you'll have the two screw holes. Those are on the inside of the machine. So I kind of just slide this in place, and as I'm securing this, like what I'm going to do is, all I really need to do is get the tabs to click into place. So like I tend to start with this top one, then I'm going to kind of secure this. So I just kind of am pulling this a little bit. Just everything fits very nicely. Then here I have this back tab which will click into place. So I'm just going to push this here, and my goal is to get this door assembly. And so right here, just with the way this metal bends, this is a pretty strong area. So I kind of have to give that a little bit of push, but that's where you'll get the most resistance. So you can hear it click into place, click into place. So I can put my hand on the inside here and click the back tabs into place. And then I'm just going to be careful of, if I could push this and it'll pop that masking tape out of place. So you want to do that. You want to make sure that this door moves freely. Right now I have my power supply here, which I'll be securing with Velcro, but just with this up and out of the way, you want to make sure this door works perfect. So at this point the door's back. So I'm going to take my two screws and so now my door's in place. I'm down to just needing to replace 3 screws. So here's the final piece of plexiglass. So I'm going to, or this diffuser, I guess, and then so I'm going to kind of, it's slotted here. So I just start at the top. It kind of nicely clicks into place. The newer this is, the better. So actually I'm going to put it down here first to start with. And just start putting this in place. So just remember, it kind of has to go under here. It's going to bend slightly to get past this piece of metal. And just as you're doing it, it'll click back into place. It's just nice if the plexiglass is in good shape. And this thing will kind of move up and down. Basically, you just want to get it realigned. Make sure all 3 of your screw holes are good. Or in this one, there's, I guess, 3 screw holes, but one of them gets the plastic. So that's done. I have 1 screw left. So this goes down midway down here. Here. So I'm just going to go up, turn it on just to do my final test before I do final cleanup. So everything's looking good. I have all 3 strips are on. So my final steps, I'm going to just kind of make it look neat in here and also talk about removing the ballast if you'd like to do that. In with the parts kit included Velcro. So I'm just going to secure this Velcro. The reason is, like, I'm just going to mount this power supply. I take advantage of this shelf being up here just because it's just nice and level. And just in case it's moved in the back of a truck or when it gets old, it really has no place to fall. So just of other kits, other LED kits you do from Capital Vending, just as much as you can, you want to lay this level. The power supply we provide, you technically could add 5 or 6 more LED strips to this machine. I have some like car wash companies, and they really light their stuff up that's outdoors, and they kind of can keep adding. Like, I'm going to put this flat up on top of the power box, and that just keeps all the wires in place. So now I can dress these with some, I'm going to kind of dress these up here, and just with within the bag, just I'll just call this a little timeout. As much as I can, I want to have some of the wire here just so there's not weight on this. So I'm going to just put this here just so it's kind of keeps this neat and clean. All right. So at this point, you're technically done with the installation. Everything's good. My preferred way of doing this actually is I actually remove the electronic ballasts in here, and it's just to kind of get the clutter out, but that would be strictly up to you and optional. In order to do that, like, this is my new power cord on this 3 position. In this machine, I'm going to put it, so I just disconnected this 2 position. And just if you want to make sure you're not doing anything you shouldn't, like after you disconnect this 2 position, if you turn it on, you'll see that all 3 lights work, so you're not disconnecting anything important. When they made the machine for the ballast, they split this 3 position was like for the top, and this was for the sides. If you elect to do this, you could just start feeding the wires out. Like on this big connector right here, this goes and goes down to the ballast. So if you want, you could disconnect this. Then if you get in here with you need like a short stubby screwdriver, there's a total of 8 screws holding in these ballasts. So that just allows you to take them out of here. That would just be done if you decide you want to do it. You want to remove this magnet if you use one, just so you could close your door. And then the last kind of final step that's critical that it's done, for this LED strip right here, this piece, I want to just either use a tie strap or a timeout to get this out of the way. It's important this doesn't get in the way of the belt here that'll be moving. So just the way the LED strips are, that's just made to join another if you'd like to. Technically, you could join another and go across and feed back if you wanted to make it, just crazy bright if you were in a really, really dark place. So with that timeout, so now I just have that out of the way so it doesn't hit the belts. Final step, if you want to, just with the kit, it'll just kind of include a window cling right here. So if you peel this, and this will go on the inside of the glass, just so your kind of customers know that you've updated to LED strips. So let me peel the back off. Peel the back. Closing my door. So now you have a completely updated machine with very reliable LED strips. If you elect to let your customers know, it will work reliably for years to come.